Hi everyone. Okay, this is Kendall with Me Oregon, and we're here for Sparkle and Shine. We are just trying to get this rocket and rolling. I remember our very first Sparkle and Shine, we had that problem where it wouldn't let Holly Wade, she was our first guest, and it wouldn't let Holly Wade um, accept the invitation. It took us quite a while to get on.
Wait, is that?
There she is.
Oh gosh. So normally it'll let me do it.
We are just trying to get this rocket rolling. I remember our
Hold
very
on.
first circle.
This one.
I hear that delay.
It'll normally let me do it from my desktop,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it wouldn't let me.
So you had to go through
So
your phone.
now I'm gonna have to hold my phone.
It's like every time we talk, that happens, Valerie. The last time we spoke to each other and your computer wouldn't behave and you had to go on your phone that time too.
It's not working,
Oh, the things that happen, right?
right? I'm telling you.
And when
It's
you
this
when you sent me that message and you were like, it's Mercury retrograde, I was like, oh,
It is. It's the last day of Mercury retrograde where like communications and stuff and your technology is supposed to start like behaving now, and it's hanging on, and I'm like, get out of here. Just
yeah,
get
yeah.
out of here. So now
Yeah,
I'm
well,
trying to
that
think,
that partially explains my mood the last couple of days. I've been like
uh,
busy, and so I didn't notice, but that would explain a few things.
it messes with a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
it does. It really can take a lot out of you. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can set you on this really quick. See, yeah, just no. Look up my nose, maybe. I guess that's fine.
Just make sure you have no boogers. It looks clear, Valerie. It looks clear.
Yeah. Oh, just throw you down there. Okay. Well, this is this is how it's gonna have to work because I can't like
It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Hey, that's what happens when we try to be perfect.
right.
And
I'll
we end
set
up more imperfect than not, right?
every time. I'm telling
So,
you.
yeah, okay. So let's now that Valerie's on, I'm on. Let's go ahead and try to get this sparkle and shine going. So just really quick, this is me. This is Kendall Patton of Me Organ Transcription and Content Creation Services, and I'm here today with the Sparkle and Shine interview series. We have two of them every month. This month is March, and our theme is around green, growing, change, finances, entrepreneurship, anything in those arenas.
Everything.
And today I've got the wonderful Valerie Leuchtmann. I know you told me
You
how to
got
say.
it.
Okay, okay. Because in my
You got
head I have to like transform it. So okay, so I've got the I've got the wonderful Valerie Leuchtmann here with me today, and her business is Aries Holistics, which is really awesome, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about that. But I'm just really excited
it.
to have her on today. I'm really excited to talk and just kind of see where our conversation goes organically. Those of you who've tuned in before, you know very well, I just sort of run these things and we just go with the flow. Whatever comes up, comes up. What doesn't come up, doesn't come up. I have a couple questions to guide us if we need them, but Valerie's a talker, kind of like me. I think we'll be fine.
Right? Right? We just la, la, la. Okay. So, like she said, I'm Valerie Leuchtmann. I'm the owner and founder of Aries Holistics. And what I do is I'm a holistic soul coach. So, what that means is I use intuition and I blend it with my life coaching training. And, I got all those certificates. And then I also blend a bit of spirituality into the mix. So it's like a life coach that like, the best I can drive it makes you cry. So like, I get a lot of people and I deal with a lot of crying because we really dig deep to just get those blocks out and find out what happened, that that created this mindset that you have right now, or where your life is moving right now and why it's going in that direction. And we just start to peel back layer by layer by layer what is really going on. And I also teach people how to deal with the etheric kind of energy that's always around us, our aura, those karmic cords, those energy cords that we send out everywhere. And if you're any kind of an empath, or what, just I really like to compare it to this. This works really well for moms that have breastfed. Okay. You're in the store, you stopped nursing 6 months ago, and there's a baby crying, and you just all of a sudden you're dropping milk out of nowhere. Okay. That is an energy cord to your nurturing side. It's always there. It's stuff like that that we have to be consciously aware of, and we've got to cut that. Like, I no longer need to sustain life right now. Like I we can shut this off, you know. Otherwise it's, what t-shirt contest in Walmart. And it's just so that's the best way I can describe what it feels like to be like an intuitive empath, is you pick up on
Mhm.
all of those subtle energies everywhere and your body reacts to it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
when someone says something like they're having relationship issues, I can feel when they're talking to me exactly where that problem is coming from,
Mhm.
whether it's like, your womb space, or it can feel like the bottoms of your feet get really heavy. Like in a past relationship, you felt really weighed down and like you were just trudging through every day, like, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to make this work. So it's things like that. And then we would start to go through and cut those cords, clear out that energy to give you a fresh start and a fresh perspective on things.
Mhm.
And then I also have my line of oils and chakra illumination mists that I do with all the essential oils. And there's crystals in those too, So a lot of what I work with is energy healing, energy clearing, but also as a supportive shoulder for you to cry on if you need to. And then someone to help you set those goals that you want for yourself in place after we've cleared out all the crap,
Mhm.
because you could clear out just a thin layer and be like, oh, I feel great and I'm going to do all this stuff and I'm really going for it. And then all of a sudden that same shit hits you in the face again.
Yep.
And you're like, why does nothing work for me ever?
Yep.
So that's what I do. And I
Yep.
I love it. I
Yep.
think it's a
And
lot
you
of fun.
see how sparkly and like shiny she is. Yeah, because she works with it. And I really should have called her like earlier this week and been like, hey, you got to clear me up so we can do our interview.
I know.
Because I probably could have used it. I did go out this morning though by myself. I just like ran away from home. I took the baby. Nobody worry. The kids were
Yeah.
supervised. My husband was here. My niece is here. But I was like, give me the keys. I'm leaving.
Right? I have to get out of here. Yeah.
I had to go and I had to clear a little bit of space and just breathe and kind of be
Mhm.
away a little bit, and it came on very not suddenly. I mean, there were, these things happen,
Yeah.
but this morning it just hit me really really hard, and I was like, okay, I have one of two choices. I can stay here and scream and everybody has a bad day, or I can leave and try to get a little bit of my sense back and then come back. And I wasn't 100% ready, I don't think, but I know I got some stuff cleared out, and I know my head feels a whole lot lighter than it did this morning. And,
Oh, for
but
sure.
I was like, I have this chat with Valerie, and I'm sure that it's going to be fun and it's going to be awesome. So that's what I'm here for. So that's what we're doing. And I'm not going to deny that I might leave again.
Okay.
And I'll just say, oh, Mercury, it's Mercury, honey, it's Mercury.
Yeah, it's Mercury retrograde. Exactly. I mean, it really, what goes on in the universe and the energies, and it's all gravity, like it's all related to each other, and everything spins in unison. And
Mhm.
I think that we get in this headspace where we're the only things out here, because we're the only things that we see, we're the only things that we deal with. we don't see those kind of energetic pools going on in the cosmos,
Mhm.
but we definitely feel it here. We feel when there's a shift or a change in
Mhm.
our universe and in our galaxy.
Mhm.
You know, that energy changes. And it's like when we have like the shooting star events and stuff like that, there's an energy of excitement
Mhm.
from people who, you know, want to see it and that kind of thing. And just, you know, like when I imagine, like, you know, we have those meteor showers, it's more like a legit shower where it's just clearing out some black space
Mhm.
in our universe and
Mhm.
just going through, and it changes the vibration of everything around us. And so when Mercury goes retrograde like that, like a lot of us, you know, we kind of just, you know, we get through it and it's no big deal. But I think it depends a lot, like where your sun sign is, your moon sign is. Like I go into a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how that relates to you and your space in time right now and how it affects you. And so it's also like where the planet is in that time too, because like Earth is always going around, always going around. And what is Mercury doing where we're at in that cycle of going around, and it decides to flip, you know, or it feels like it's, you know, being drug along.
Mhm.
And it really can just mess with us because
Mhm.
it's the whole energy
Mhm.
on the collective level. And I think we really need to be more aware of it and accepting that it's not just all about us on this little tiny planet, you know, where we're like, oh, you know, everything, we're in control of everything all the time. And it's like, no, no, we're not. And that's a really hard one for Aries energy to get through. If you have any people that pop on here that are Aries, they'll probably be like, yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. All the time we're like, I got this and I'm in control. And you know, the cosmos and universe, source, God, what have you, when you need that slap in the face, it's going to give it to you. And it's going to say you need to stop and you need to pay attention.
Mhm.
And so for you on this last day of this retrograde, you probably have had like 3 to 4 weeks at least of just stress
Mhm.
and one thing after another not working out, to where this morning you were like, that's it, I'm out. I'm
Yeah,
out. Bye.
yeah. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly, yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. And I was doing my best. My husband actually asked me yesterday because I think he could tell I was really on the verge of like really like losing it because things have been very, very stressful. We've gone through some changes. Those of you that follow me around, see me around online, you've seen that I'm not around a whole lot lately because there's a lot happening. I'm really overwhelmed and it's messing with my energy really, really
Yeah.
bad. And so he says to me yesterday, he's like, can you hold till Friday? Because he's not off until Friday. He works like this certain rotating schedule. He only has certain days off, and he's not off until Friday. He's like, "Can you hold on? Can you just hold on?" And I'm looking at him like, "I'm trying, babe. I'm trying." But this morning, I was done,
Yeah.
and I needed to start clearing some of that away in a way that was manageable
Yep.
because he's not off tonight. So I
Yeah.
needed to just get away for just a little bit and just spend some time mostly by myself because, as you say,
Mhm.
like there's always an energy build. Obviously, this is not my field of study, so to speak, but I, you know, look at things and I evaluate and I try to my best to pay attention and so I can always like feel stuff happening even if I don't know how to name it. And that's what people like Valerie, that's why I need people like Valerie in my life because they give me the language. um, yeah,
Yeah.
and but that's the whole thing. And then with this month's theme being about change and growth, which I mean we could go lots of places with that, but and I didn't even know Mercury was going to retro because see, like I told you, that's not my language.
Yeah.
That's Valerie
Yeah.
stuff. But it's like, but it just comes together in a way. And I don't know if ahead of time when we scheduled the interview, if you knew Mercury was going to retrograde near the end of the month or
No.
not. Yeah, because it was a few
No, we
months ago we scheduled,
yeah,
right?
December.
But
Yeah.
it's just like, and so I really do want to talk to you a little bit about about that change and like the theme
Mhm.
of being like green and growing, and how you felt like that fit in with either what's going on in life or in business, or with the energy that's been happening, around the world, or in your own life, or however you want to go with that. But I definitely want to like tap into that a little bit, because I know that you have so much to share, and you give a lot of yourself, and obviously, and that's part of why you do what you do,
Yeah.
in Aries Holistics, so that you can help other people to do that as well, and to tap into their own stuff. So if you don't mind, like let's kind of go there a little bit. Let's talk about how or why the theme really appeals to you, and how you want to tie that in whatever way makes the most sense for today.
So, um, okay, so our retrograde is ending right in the beginning of what they call Aries season. And if you look at like a cosmic calendar, Aries is the beginning of a new year. So it's when we plant the seeds and then we start to, manifest what we need for the rest of the year. Doesn't start in January when things should be dormant and, locked down. I always really feel bad for the people in New York who are like, we're going to drop the ball in a freaking snowstorm. It's 2 degrees outside. I'm like, these guys are crazy.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like the beginning of the year starts in end of March, beginning of April. And then that's when things really start to come together for a lot of people as well. We go through this push in January where it's like, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to make all of these, what are they, resolutions, and I'm going to get this going. But they're not setting those intentions at a time that is cosmically supportive.
Hmm.
So, right now, it is cosmically supportive to plant some seeds. Our earth is in a perfect position with the sun where it's been raining, April showers bring May flowers. And that's what we're supposed to do. It's cleansing the earth, cleansing the entire planet with those rains, and also with ourselves. So, coming off of this retrograde, like this when it hit me really hard. And so, yesterday, I was like, that's it. It was probably like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I always have like my torch, I show you guys. I got out my yoga mat and I just sat in front of a big window upstairs and I had my sage and I had Palo Santo and rose quartz and a
Oh.
crystal, this clear crystal quartz. I was like loaded down. And I'm sitting on my mat and I'm just bawling my eyes out, just crying it out and just, clearing my energy. And this sage is a clearing
Hmm.
to cleanse your vibe and get out the bad vibes. And then Palo Santo is one that they use to call in good energy. So from like your spirit guides and that kind of thing, it's more of a supportive tool in the esoteric world is Palo Santo, and where sage is more of a get the out of here right now. So yeah, sage is your go-to if you need to just get it out. And then rose quartz is very heart healing, and it's also good for tapping into intuition and that kind of thing. So, I just have my sage, my Palo Santo, and I'm holding my rose quartz in my heart space and just asking for, that intuitive wisdom, that guidance, and that clean slate. So, if I do seem a little more energetic and with it today, it's because I gave myself that time and opportunity to just let it all go. And it's not easy as a strong woman. And I'm sure with you with 3 kids, it's hard to admit that stuff builds up and you just have to cry it out sometimes.
Hmm.
And it's okay to be vulnerable and to admit that you just need that time sometimes. And it's really hard for me with a lot of the trauma and stuff that I grew up with, especially being orphaned as a high school senior and out on my ass and having to always be so strong. It's taken till my 40s to be like, okay, I've really got to learn to just let this stuff go and cleanse and refresh. And so it's great that, today I have this interview with you and I can share with you because with 3 little ones, I mean, girl, I can feel you with running a business and your man's a firefighter, right? Like he's on shift work.
He's
You know, I
he's
spent,
he's a laborer and he works at night, but it is shift work.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking firefighter, and I was like, I used to be a firefighter in my early 30s. Like, I know you're
Yeah,
never there.
yeah.
So, like, I feel it's really good for you and probably like your main audience and people that you work with that they get some of this because it is not, it's not a mainstream niche of
Hmm.
coaching.
Yeah.
And you know, we're just kind of out there in the ether sporadically, and we're just trying to come out a little bit more with it because it is still kind of thought as, you know, well, that's just weird. And it's like, well, why don't you
Woo
just
woo.
try? Yeah, try it. You know, people eat oysters, and it's like, I'm sure at one point somebody was like, ew, gross, that's just weird. But then they were like, oh, I feel great, you know. Got
Yeah.
me so horny. I'm gonna eat
Or
all of these,
frog
you know,
legs
like,
or something.
right? Everything has been weird at one point in
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and it turns out to be beneficial.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like coffee.
Yeah. I was gonna ask what's in your cup. I'm like, is she having tea or coffee?
Oh gosh, it's coffee, coffee, coffee. I'm so bad. I'll drink tea when I'm starting to feel sick,
Yeah.
you know, or when I really feel like I need to. I usually just go by my gut feeling and
Hmm.
I do. I listen to my spirit guides and source, and I kind of just do things based off of that on what do I need to do? What jewelry am I going to wear today? What's calling to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of trying to fight or force something all the time. Like, well, I'm going to wear this today and I'm going to force this, you know, and it doesn't happen. You
I
really
know.
have to go with the energy of it.
I know, and with the work, and I'm glad that you brought that up in the way that you did, Valerie, because even with the work that I do, transcription, and then creating content for business owners and authors and speakers and so forth, it really actually, and it's such a difficult thing to transmit to others and let them really like get an idea that when I listen to people's words to type them, it's really like I really sink into that. And I'm not saying other transcriptionists don't. I don't know. I'm not in their head and I don't live their life. But I know that the way I do it is that I really have to I have to be ready to sit down to type.
Mhm.
It's not the physical capability, it's the I have to be
Yeah.
mentally ready. If my head is not clear enough, then I'm not going to transcribe
Mm-mm.
well, and then I won't be able to translate what I did transcribe into content that people can use. Like I have to totally have it all together,
Mhm.
and I have to be able to share that in a way that makes sense for everyone involved, because and that's part of this, like the stress and the overwhelm this month has really gotten in the way of my ability to actually do something. I actually have client transcripts. Thankfully they're very, very patient, but I actually have their transcripts, and I could go in and I could just like create something, but
Yep.
that's not what they want me to do. They want me to give them the value. They want me to give them what I really heard and really make that into something. And with all this stress and overwhelm, I literally haven't been able to do it. My head has not been clear enough. I told my husband a week or two ago, I said, you know what? I need to
Mhm.
do, I have a project. I'm refinishing our kitchen table. And so I was like, I have to get this done, even though it was raining. And he's like, you can't do it. It's raining. And I was like, we're gonna find a way because I have to do this because that's one of the only ways that I know for me that helps me to clear that headspace so that I can get back into my work. And
Well, you're an artist, you're a
right.
creator,
Hmm.
and you have to step in and you have to be somebody else. So it's almost like you're an actor too. So, girlfriend, I hope you're making those millions because, you know, you've got to be somebody else
Yeah.
in order to project that person on paper.
Hmm.
You know, that's a big thing.
Hmm.
That is empathetic, that is intuitive. You know, you have it.
Hmm.
and you're using it. You just don't have the language for it, but that's
Right.
exactly what you're doing in
Yeah.
order to make that beautiful content so that people feel like, wow, she really tapped into who I am.
Hmm.
So you for sure have to make sure you're taking that time to re-ground yourself and who you are before you start taking on all of these other people,
Hmm.
because you will start to become all of that unless you're going through and you're cutting those cords and being like, okay, I'm done working on this person's thing.
Hmm.
Thank you for this opportunity, and recenter yourself and just cut that cord away and be
Yep.
like, okay, now it's time to be Kendall again.
Yep. Yep. No, it's totally true. I used to actually, I almost feel like I'm in a therapy session right now, but
Right?
in a good way, in a good way, in a good way. But I actually used to tell people, or people used to notice, they're like, well, when you're around certain people, like you speak differently. And I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, no, no, like your voice, like everything about me changes. And I did that for years and years and years. And I guess it started when I was very young. And then I started to notice, because people keep saying it. So as an adult, I began to notice it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I do that. And it's so funny because I'll notice it and I still can't stop. And that speaks to what you just said. And that's
Mhm.
one of the things, I, I do my best to kind of make sure people understand, or at least to inform people that that I'm all about knowing oneself and being like having some self-awareness and self-knowledge and stuff like that, so that we can continuously create the change that is necessary, not just for ourselves but for those around us. Um,
Mhm.
and that's part of this series, but it's also part of why each month there's a different theme. And even though sometimes it seems like it all weaves to it seems disjointed, it really like weaves all together. In my
Yeah.
head, on paper, I've planned it out so that it weaves together. And here we are with Valerie, and you're telling us like this is the perfect time to plant. This is the
Yeah.
perfect time to get ready to clear.
Mhm.
This is the perfect time to start focusing on actual change instead of
Yeah.
looking at the months of the calendar and just
Mhm.
saying, where are we in this world? Where are we in this space? Where are we inside of ourselves? And how do we make that all come out so that we can show up, whether we're on camera or not? But we do have to show up for ourselves and for others and the world every day.
All the
And I
time.
love that way that you said that.
No. Yeah. It's a collective effort, you know. It's not just about us and our little circle. You know, it's a big thing. Um, I like to compare it to, which is it's really crappy, but what Hitler was able to do in Germany,
Mm.
with he was able to broadcast that energy of hatred. You can absolutely broadcast an energy of love and acceptance and peace in your space, and
Mhm.
you can manifest that as a whole big thing. It takes a lot of people to do that, but I feel like we're starting to come into more of a balance where there's more of us becoming self-aware of
Mhm.
that, to where something like that tragic happening, you know, in Germany is going to have a really hard time manifesting again. And even in countries like Darfur, you know, where
Mhm.
there's still some genocide and stuff like that going on, it's not as bad as it was, say, 20 years ago. It's
Right.
starting to just level out, and it's bringing that awareness to that situation from the entire world that, you know, this stuff needs to change, this stuff has to stop. And more, I guess they're like, I always want to say mercenaries, but missionaries, you know, people that promote love and light. I did that the other day when I was telling my husband that I was trying to say the missionaries came and they wanted to talk to his 12-year-old son. And I was like, the mercenaries have your son. And I was like, wait, no, no, that's not what I'm
Whoops.
trying to say. Never mind. No, I'm not sending him with mercenaries. But yeah, so it's like as long as we're all consciously aware of that, and the more people we can reach to be aware
Mhm.
of our state of mind and how that affects everything around us.
Mhm.
You know, you could go to a checker at the store and they could have a bad attitude. And if you just present with kindness and a good
Yep.
energy, their energy will change and you can watch it happen.
Yep.
Or if you're in a really shitty mood, everybody behind you is going to be in that same mood now too.
Yep.
And it's just making that connection,
Hmm.
and it can be fun sometimes once you start to really harness and work with your own energies, where
Hmm.
you can be like, okay, something doesn't feel right. Who is it?
Yep.
This is not for me. That's one of my best things to teach people is when you start to feel really down and really crappy or just these knots and you're not sure why, recenter yourself and say, this is not for me.
Yep.
This is not mine. This is not for me.
Hmm.
Before you end up taking that on and making it yours,
Yeah.
which is sounds like something you were starting to do was
Yep. Yep.
everybody else's stuff. You were just like, I'm going to take this and this and this, and I'm going to hold on to it. And you just let it just bubble
Yep.
over. So absolutely take a walk, girl. You know,
Yeah.
I built a labyrinth in my backyard over
Oh.
the last week. I did it by hand because with my spine, I have a degenerative disease in my back. So like using the shovel a lot really hurts, but I can be on my hands and knees in like cat pose, table
Yeah.
pose, if you do
Hmm.
yoga,
Hmm.
and just pulling the weeds. So I did a 14-foot in diameter circle,
That's
ripping
awesome.
out all the grass, all the weeds, and I made this beautiful, it's a medicine wheel. So
Yep.
I can just be still at home and I can go in and reflect and reground because grounding is super important, especially with so much interaction with different people and different energies.
Hmm.
So you got to take your shoes off and you got to go stand outside.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm so glad that the season is changing. It's so funny because as we started talking, so I don't often do these sparkle interviews. I actually don't often wear shoes at all. And I've always been like that. I used to get in trouble as a kid, but um but I forgot to take them off before we started the interview. And as we started talking, I could feel my feet and I so want to rip my shoes off, but like I don't want to like make anything fall because things are really delicate right
Yeah,
now.
right?
Yeah, well, just to make the interview, I have to like do stuff. Most of us do. But anyways,
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
and it's just, and I'm just so glad that spring is coming, and we're starting to see a little bit of the actual seasonal change here where we live in the southeast, so that I can do a little bit more of that. I can walk
Yeah.
around and like feel like, oh, okay, everything's okay. My feet are planted firmly on the ground, whatever ground is for me where I'm at. So I think that's
Yeah.
incredible. And I was going to ask you, well, actually, before we go there, and maybe we won't return, who knows? But and you, as you were talking a minute ago about how things are shifting, how things are changing, and that we're coming into a little bit more balance overall, and how
Mhm.
it's important to reach more people, especially when we talk about the spirituality or we talk about energy frequencies and all of this stuff. That how important it is to like share that with so many more people so we can help to raise everybody's vibration really. Um,
Yeah.
and that really kind of also, I ask this question a lot for different reasons, but I think it's really something to highlight as it relates to what you do in the energy healing and the with the crystals and the chakras and all the different ways that you do it because you do it in so many different ways on so many
Yeah.
levels. But you brought that to the online space, and I'm just curious if you had an idea or like a vision, like I'm bringing this to the online space to reach more people, or if you were just like, I'm bringing this to the online space because it seems like the next right step.
No, everything on my journey has been it's it's been like just a kick in the pants by source and by like universe and where I feel like I am divinely guided,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense, divinely supportive. One of the talks that I did on how to love yourself through trauma and adversity and going through being an orphan and being in an abusive relationship for 17 years, was that I always felt divinely supported.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't just crumble and fall. So when I get these things where I'm just like, this is what it's saying to do. Go create this group, or someone will come to me. You know, we have little messengers all around us too. When we really need that push, someone that we've never met will all of a sudden, friend us or whatever and be like, you should really do this. And then you have to really take some of that and go, okay, this person was sent here with this message for me because I'm wasting what I've been called and given to do. This wasn't stuff that I was just I hate to say like not really born with this natural thing. It's something that I've had to tune into, pay attention, and listen. It's really hard to do that when you get so stuck in the ego mind of I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm going to do this, and I don't need nothing.
Yeah.
But when you start to, yeah, tune in and listen and just go with what you're being called to do, you really start living from your heart space
Mhm.
and from what your passion truly is and your purpose, and it just becomes so easy and the flow just starts coming out of you. And it's funny to me because when I do stuff like this, I'll see that somebody else somewhere was on like that same mindset, that same plane, and I'll have no idea who they were or have ever seen anything like that. And it's like, okay, well, that's source saying it's you're not nuts.
Mhm.
This is
Yeah. Right.
this is how everything works.
Yeah.
It's physics, it's energy, it's how we're all connected, our cells, all of it. And so I feel like that's when I'm called to do something like that, it just really goes easily for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And like even like my shirt, it says unwavering faith underneath it with the lotus that blooms out of the mud. That was something I've never done any kind of graphic design or
Mhm.
anything like that. I'm from where we had Apple Computer in sixth grade and it was like amazing.
Yeah.
There was none of this stuff when I was growing up. And for me to just start designing my own stuff with no background in design, but having unwavering faith means so much to me that I was like, I gotta wear it. I gotta make sure people see it. And that if anybody asks or if they look, in their mind, it will, trigger
Yep.
if they're having a bad day. Oh, where's my faith?
Yep.
How am I feeling?
Yep.
So all of it has just been manifested out of ether in my mind, where it's like, here it is. You're going to do this. And I'm like, okay.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I love the way you said that. I love the way you said that, and I love the language you chose that works for you to explain that. Because I think that's one of the things as well is that in some ways we all have to find the language that fits for us that explains these as you say, the ethereal things. Like there are so many things. I just call it like spirituality, right? And that's a
Yeah.
word that works for me. And but really, it's like my way of saying the same thing that you're saying and what my experience is, because there's lots of things that have happened to me, choices I've made, places I've been, people I've met, people I've left, different stuff like that, changes that I've needed to undergo that have, I feel like, been told to me, right? Like I've gotten a
Yeah.
message of some sort. Starting this transcription business was that. It wasn't me sitting around being like,
Mhm.
what am I going to do with this transcription skill I have? That's not what happened. It was washing the dishes and being like,
Mhm.
oh God, did you just tell me to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just love the fact that we can talk about these things and we can use different language, but we can still understand the experience that we each individually have in our lives. And then to hear someone else use language like, "Ooh, I like that word." When you say like ether,
Yeah.
like every time you use the word ether, like I go, right, like I get like, oh, she said it again. And so that usually is a key to me, like, oh, I can start using that word. Maybe that word will help me explain things
Yeah.
as well when I talk to other people, or when I'm experiencing something, or when I'm trying to help guide somebody else in some way, or maybe when I'm writing content for somebody. You never know. Like, there's all these different ways that communicating with each other and being able to connect
Hmm.
without allowing ourselves to be barriered by words or by language. Really, I said somewhere recently, we're all the same, aren't we? Aren't we
Yeah.
all the same? I mean, we're
Yeah.
all humans. Yeah, that's true. We're all this, we're all that. We all have, but don't we all also have a spirit? Don't we all also have a heart center, as you say? Don't we
Hmm.
all have light? Don't we all have love? And what is
Everything,
important
all of
is
it.
that, right, and then the work that you do is that you help people to
Hmm.
heal so that they can
Hmm.
tap into that. And I love
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
trained to be a social worker to do the same thing.
Yeah. But what you do is you're channeling etheric energy when you're transcribing for people and when you're helping people tell their story.
Mhm.
I see Dee just popped on here and I love her and I know that she has a story to tell and she really needs a transcriptionist. So hopefully she will give us a little like or a thumbs up and she'll contact you.
That'd be awesome.
Um, but that's what you do. Like that's part of your vernacular is you are channeling that person's emotions when they decided to create something. You know, that's what you do. And you're stepping into them, which is channeling. You know, channeling isn't just all this mysticism with gypsies, you know, and the guy with the black hat and his ball, you know, and he's talking to dead people or whatever. You're channeling that person's essence when you're telling their story for them.
Mhm.
So that's a really huge thing. You know, you're supporting them in that way. So I totally get why you feel so drained sometimes and also why you felt called to do it because you have that in you to share that story.
Mhm.
And you're creative, you're an artist.
Mhm.
You know, if your outlet is to go refinish furniture, you are an artist at heart. You know, that's what you're doing.
Right, right. And I'm going to say this too, because I think one of the things that, and I'm sure that you help people do this a lot, is to find out what their things are, because we
Yeah.
all have multiple things. Yesterday, you needed to be surrounded by crystals and the specific smokes. You needed
Yeah.
that. And you needed,
Mhm.
and then, and I think, well, this week you also needed to be in the ground and pulling the weeds and building that
Yep.
medicinal ball. Like, you needed that this week.
Hmm.
And those are two different things, but they both
Yeah.
achieve the same result, right?
Yeah,
And I
for
think
sure.
that's one of the things that we all need to sometimes note, is that we have to find, that goes to self-knowledge and self-awareness and self-acceptance and so on and so forth, and recovery and
Hmm.
healing. But we all need to find, what are our things? What are those things? Sometimes for me, it's refinishing the table. Sometimes for
Yeah.
me, it's painting the wall. Sometimes for me, it's like drawing lines on paper. Like, seriously, it's just lines. uh, like, so, and some people create in other ways. Another thing that I love to do is write, obviously. Another thing that I love to do is talk, obviously. And we all have to find those things and then allow ourselves to do those things and be those things, whether or
Hmm.
not the person next to us, beside us, behind us, and in front of us understands us or not. It's important for
Yeah.
us individually to do that. And I love
Yeah.
that that's
That's
one of the
for
things
them.
you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it kind of is because if we're able to ground and maintain our own sanity, everybody benefits around us. So we could either not do what our energy calls us to do so that we can dump some negativity and some stress, or we can just keep all that stress and negativity and take it out on the people we love.
Right.
So it benefits everybody as a whole when we're able to tune in to what our heart calls us to do when our heart calls us to do it. Because if we don't listen to what source energy, our hearts, our soul tells us what we need to be doing, we're going against energy again. And we're just building walls and building walls. And until, they just explode in our face. And so it's super important to make sure you're taking that time and listening and connecting with who you are at your core. You're just going to end up angry pants and just
Yeah,
a wreck,
yeah,
nobody wants that. It's terrible
yeah.
for your skin. So
Have
you
clear
want to get
skin, people. That's what today's talk was about.
Yep, yep, exactly. You
Um,
know?
yeah, yeah, totally. I have a question. I just want to know, because I see that we're getting close to the 2 o'clock hour,
Yeah.
and I don't want to hold people around too long or jam up your schedule. So I just want to ask you really quick if there's anything very specific that you also would like to share with us around the theme before I go into the Starlight round of questions.
Just really take some time to reground yourself right now. Clear out some stuff. If you have nasty text messages from a client or something, I know I've seen some people pop on here that I'm close to. If you have some negative energies around that kind of thing, delete those messages. They don't serve anything. Delete any emails where somebody was complaining or that kind of thing. Make sure that you let that stuff go.
Mhm.
Just let it go. It's doing you more damage to hold on to it and to have that in your space and to know that it's there than just letting it go. So, really, right now, clear all that stuff out and then start really calling into your energy what you would like for the rest of this year. What does your summer look like? Really start that forward thinking of what am I going to be doing here and here and here, but not to where it's like overwhelming. Think of what you would like your life to look like because of the work that you're doing now, because of the seeds that you're planting, the weeds that you're pulling. What are you going to grow in that space where you took those weeds out? Because the universe is it's vacuum, it doesn't like a blank space. So when you take those weeds out, you need to make sure you're putting something in there that you really need.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's such an important
Yeah.
message, and I love how you just brought everything together in those like 4 or 5 sentences. You just brought
Yeah.
the whole conversation, everything that you do, and the ways that we can all help each other. You just put it all together in one quick 4 or 5 sentence paragraph, and all is well. Like I'm like, oh, okay. I think I'll go do those things. But I do have a Starlight round of questions, which are sort of a
Okay.
surprise, that all the guests get asked. And if you're willing to participate, the only thing that I ever ask, it's 3 questions. I think they're simple, but they're also complicated. And and the only thing that I ask is just answer with the first thing that pops in your head. Um, we don't have to keep it super PG. It is online, but we do want to, make sure we're respectful with our language. So even if oh
Yeah.
shit pops in your head, like oh god, I can't believe she asked me that, that's totally fine. But that's the only thing. So if you're willing to participate, then we'll just go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll get ready and close for the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right, cool. So, oh, this builds on what you just said. So, share with us your biggest dream goal for this year, whether it's personal or in your business.
My biggest goal right now is my daughter's graduation party. So I think that's on the top of my mind every day right now is making sure that her graduation party is magical. She's a bright, amazing young woman, and she has really worked her butt off to get to where she is. She's going to be going to Embry-Riddle in Arizona and majoring in aeronautical engineering. So she was given scholarships and everything to go there. And my main goal this year is to honor her and just make sure that she has this beautiful, I guess, like party. And I'm having to like get help with it because I'm not really artsy. I know what I want, but I don't know how to like pull
Yeah.
it together without it looking like, you know, a tornado through a dollar store. So like I'm like, we'll throw some glitter and stuff over there and maybe some streamers. Like, I'm so bad.
Me too. Don't
And
feel bad. I would have to, if I to do a huge celebration of that sort, I would need to get like it would for me probably be close to like who can I call and how much do they charge, like
right,
because here
exactly.
just take my whole house and take the mortgage, whatever you need, and make this happen, because when we want to honor somebody, especially when they've really achieved some very big stuff and they've
Mhm.
worked really hard and they've set their sights on something and they've just gotten to that place, and then we want to get them there and get them there in a way that's well, and we want to get them in there in a way that's light and airy and allows
Mhm.
them to enter that
I
time
know.
and do
Dee's
more.
my event.
Yes,
So Dee is an
yes.
event planner. So and she travels. She loves doing destination parties.
There
So
you go.
Jessica wants
There
to
you
meet a friend
go.
and
So I may
we
have
need
to
to
hook
hook
up with
up
you,
with her.
Dee, in a few years.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
absolutely. Keep in
but
mind.
yeah, totally. I totally get it, and I think that, and I just want to say, I think that's wonderful that your goal this year is to honor your daughter in that way, because
Yeah.
as a mom, that's a
Oh,
big
I cry
thing.
every time I think
But
about it.
but
It's
as a
what
mom,
she's
that's a big
doing.
thing. But then just to like have your heart in a space where you can do it and not
Yeah.
dream it is just incredible. So yes, yes, many hearts to you, those who are setting
Yeah.
hearts. Many hearts to Valerie for doing. That's a wonderful goal, Valerie. I'm so happy you shared that with us. Um, okay, all right, two more questions in the Starlight round.
Okay.
Okay, tell me your biggest personal change in the process of building your business.
Oh God, patience. Patience for sure. That has been my biggest personal change. Patience for other people, patience for the people in my space, patience for, small children that are extremely extroverted and then extremely introverted and trying to blend everything as a blended family. I think patience has really just taught me to center so that I can teach it to other people, and just learning how and what holding space for something means.
Yeah.
When you do something like this, you have to hold space for so many different things so that everybody still knows that you still love them, you still care about them, but you have other things that you need to do with your life as well.
Yeah.
So absolutely patience. Patience.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'm learning some new levels of patience myself. So yeah, and it looks like Dee totally understands. Thank you, Dee. All
Yeah.
right, last question, Valerie. Last question. This is a big one.
Okay.
Tell us what your biggest life or business challenge is right now, how you want that to change, and how we can help you.
So my biggest challenge right now is absolutely it's been since the start is childcare for my 3 year. He's now 3. He's getting a little better with spending some time, with his Play-Doh and stuff, but it's really hard to connect to what I need to do with having a very extroverted 3-year-old who's extremely impulsive on top of it. So I don't know, you guys can't see it this way, huh? But I got my banner finally because I'm doing an event this weekend, and I was getting dressed and he ran into the office, took my dry erase, and he colored red all in my A for Aries on my banner. And it looks like blood splatter the way he drew it. And I'm just like, oh God, this banner only lasted 2 days. So I guess if anybody, wants to babysit, that's my main thing. I feel like everything else is going how it needs to go and the way it should be. And I also have to, call myself back into this is the way it has to be right now too. with me having to do all this with Nakai is
Mhm.
because I'm still growing and learning that patience. You
Mhm.
know, that is a huge one for me is having patience with things, and it's rough. And I feel like as long as I still have that little inkling of unnerving, and when I feel called to write something or to share something and I can't do it right then,
Mhm.
that's where my impatience and my irritation comes in. Yeah, Sophie. I know. I've been thinking about that too, G. Let me tell you, it's been going, but I feel like everything is right where it's supposed to be, and the only, I guess, real help that I need is being able to call my energy back, and that's what I teach people, and I figure I practice what I teach, and it's just calling me to really simmer down, let things manifest a little more before I'm just like word vomit on some paper,
Yeah.
as an Aries and as, just strong fire energy all the time. I can just be like, blah, 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 and there it is. Ta-da! And I think that's still a big one. That's a big challenge for me is, okay, take a chill, let this simmer a couple days if you need to, and edit and come back and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's it. So
Yeah.
it's mostly just
So we need to send you some light and love and some prayers
yes,
and
yeah,
babysitting help. And you know what?
yeah.
I need some of that stuff too. So because baby girl, kangaroo girl, she'll be 1 in a month. She's 11
Oh
months. And
gosh.
so she'll be 1 next month, and she is definitely her own little spitball. And then the oldest will be 6, and the middle one is 3.5. And it's just like, you know what? And we
Yeah,
have our niece here, and she is helpful. She is in need of lots of things too. So,
yeah,
so there's a lot I'm balancing right now, and still trying to run a business, and that's why it's
yeah.
just so wonderful to have these talks, and it's so wonderful um, to know what
You're
it
not
is that we
alone.
need.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not just you, that we all go through it. It's
Yeah.
it's tough being stay-at-home mom and running a business. Like
Yeah.
it's lunacy, but we make it happen.
Yep. And but we make it happen because we're called to it, like you said before. We make it
Yeah.
happen because we're passionate
Mhm.
about it. We make it happen because it's important to us. My family is just as important to me as I'm sure yours is to you. This career that
Yeah.
I'm building as a mompreneur or as a solo business owner, however you want to say it,
Mhm.
is just as important to me and my well-being as it is to my family and their well-being.
Yeah.
Just like their well-being is as important to me as my life is to me. Like it's just this big circle, and that's why we make it happen. And I'm just so glad that you do that as well. And I'm so glad you were on with me today, Valerie. I had fun.
Yay.
Technology did its thing, but we battled and we overcame. And I'm
Divinely
sure both of us
supported.
really tapped into our patience there for a minute
Yeah.
as it
That's that
relates to
divine
that.
support though. I'm
Um,
telling
let
you.
us let us know really quick, Valerie, before we go. Let people know where they can find you. If they want to know more about you and all that good stuff, we'll drop the links below. But let's just go
Okay.
ahead and highlight that really quick. And if there's anything that you specifically want people to look at or look into, or like a freebie or something like that, if you want to
Yeah.
highlight that, you're welcome to do that as well. So let's just do that really quick. Make sure we get the links dropped below, and we'll go, and then we'll all just go have a rest of a good end of Mercury retrograde
Yeah.
day.
End of it. Just you can go to my website, ariesholistics.com. If you sign up for the email, you do get it's just a PDF download of my 7 tips, 7 minutes a day. It's just ways you can basically tune into yourself. And then right now, I have my course, Finding the Real Source of Your Depletion on Iliatomy, and I've lowered it down to $60. I'm trying to make it accessible for people. It's supposed to be done in 2 weeks. You can drag it out a little longer if you need be, but I felt really called to make this course, and I really, it took me a year. So it's a true labor of love, and learning what the real sources of my depletion were. And that's what has manifested into this amazing course that I put together. And then just, Facebook, Aries Holistics, Twitter, Instagram, all the basics. Is how you can find me. Or you can find me in Sanger, California. I'm pretty small here. I'm right here.
Right, yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And you know what, everybody, if you're watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, go check out her course because let me tell you, if she's telling you she lowered that price, she's really serious. But she lowered the price because there's a lot of value, not because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of value. It's
Because
well
I want to help
worth.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So go check that out. Check her website out, Aries Holistic. Also on her Facebook page and on her website, you can see products and stuff that she has. Those shirts she was talking about that she designed.
The one
She's
I'm
got some
wearing.
rollers and different things like that. So go check out her site. Go check out her shop. Support her. And
Hey,
otherwise, just connect with her. Connect with her and learn from her because Valerie is pretty awesome.
thanks.
All right, Valerie, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on today for the Sparkle and Shine here with me, Morgan, myself, Kendall Patton. I hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Valerie, I hope that you can get to where you need to be over the next couple of days yourself. And everybody else, please, please just tap into yourself and take care. I'll see everyone around. Thank you, Valerie. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Kendall. Bye.